morning. Today we're going to continue looking at rhetorical appeals, ethos, logos, and pathos, and you will be looking at them in persuasive pieces, 2 speeches and a poem. So you'll demonstrate understanding the rhetorical appeals, ethos, logos, and pathos, and also apply the SOAPS acronym by finding examples of the devices in sample speeches. So you'll be identifying ethos, logos, pathos, in the speeches, and then also applying them to the SOAPS acronym, which remember is subject, occasion, audience, purpose, and speaker. So how are ethos, logos, and pathos designed by speakers or persuasive writers in order to fit the occasion, the audience, and the subject? And also, how do each of those appeals impact the subject, audience, or occasion? And then finally, you'll identify uses of rhetorical devices used in poetry. So you're going to go on to a Nearpod today. It's a student paced Nearpod. So last class we did the instructor paced, where I was kind of in control as an introduction, and now you're going to be looking at speeches on your own to assess what you remember and what you can apply to the actual speeches. So please go to your Nearpod using that code, join.nearpod.com, enter the code, and what you'll see is, now let me drag this over, there we go. First you're going to match a vocab term, each vocab term with its definition. There are 8, so logos, ethos, pathos, subject, audience, purpose, rhetoric. So those main key terms we used from last class. So just a little review, some are easier than others. And then what will happen is for each slide, or to start I should say, there is a video of a young man named Simon Link, and he's trying to convince his audience that kids need recess. So you'll watch the speech and provide an example of how he uses logic, so facts and statistics, to convince his audience that kids need recess. And then after each speech, there is kind of a harder question on a Collaborate board. So this one asks, how did Simon Link's use of logos help develop his ethos? So how do the facts used in his speech help him make him more credible or believable or trustworthy? You know, because he's like 7. All right, and then we have a speech by a woman named Haley Hardcastle, and you're just going to provide an example of how she uses ethos, which is her personal background, trustworthiness, references to right versus wrong, moral versus immoral, laws, religion, to convince her audience that students should have mental health days. And then again, how does one of those appeals, ethos, logos, or pathos, help appeal to her audience? So how does it make her more relatable to her audience? Finally, you're going to watch Amanda Gorman read a poem at Joe Biden's inauguration, and her purpose is to persuade Americans to be unified. So how does she use one of the rhetorical appeals, ethos, logos, or pathos, to persuade Americans to be unified? And this poem is called The Hill We Climb, so I want you to answer, who is the target audience of the poem The Hill We Climb? And then review of the SOAPS acronym, so subject, occasion, audience, purpose, and speaker. You're going to match the SOAPS criteria to its answer. So who is the speaker? So who is telling the poem? You would find who that is. Subject, what is the piece about? You find the answer to that. And then finally, you are using or matching the rhetorical devices to the examples from Amanda Gorman's poem. So for like metaphor, you would find the example of a metaphor from her poem. And then lastly, you're going to do a formative assessment. So what? Why is this all important? And the question you're going to answer is, what is rhetoric and why is it important to persuasion? All right, and when you finish, you can check in with me before you log off for the day, just to make sure there's nothing else that you owe.